if it's our story or our MMO, that I'm play the story, of course, because
We have an MMO.
Yeah, in like 2039 or something like that.
It just says 2023 question mark. Welcome to Status Quo. I'm your host, Chance, and today I am joined by Sundered Gaming's lead Hydra Slayer. He doesn't actually kill him, Johnny Boy.
I just make more of a mess.
That's definitely true. We are also joined today by Sundered Gaming's lead narrative director, Bear.
That's me.
We are also
You're
joined
not gonna get me.
by Sundered Gaming's lead troublemaker, Chad.
You're gonna
It's
get
only
me.
4 gigs. 4 megs.
It's not 4 megs. All right. For today, we wanted to discuss something that we all have a love-hate relationship with in the world of MMOs and honestly RPGs in general. Crafting.
I thought this
I
was
thought
gonna be
it
another
was PvP.
PvP.
We seriously just did this last week.
We're done with PvP for a little bit. Maybe next week. On that note, we've all spent a lot of time playing a lot of different MMOs, anything from Rift to Elder Scrolls Online to World of Warcraft.
I was
to...
Rift, the first MMO that you mentioned.
Dude, Rift was
Rift
great.
was
Rift
a
was
fun game.
amazing.
In its time. yeah.
Terrible execution. Like,
I'm-
it was an
I'm just
amazing
saying,
game
like,
concept.
you start
And
with,
then
like,
New World tried to
EverQuest
replicate it, and it was
to
terrible.
World
But
of Warcraft to whatever.
because it's all had halfway decent or terrible or
No,
good
no, I got you,
crafting systems. You just gotta interrupt me right off the bat.
I do.
To Final Fantasy, to Aeon Online or whatever.
Aeon?
Arcade. I played that one for a
Oh,
while
Arcade.
too.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. It got terrible real quick. We're all very opinionated on this one because as MMO players for a very long time, we have very different opinions on how the crafting system should go in a game. John, being the most...
Do we
Well,
have
actually,
opinions?
yeah, I know
I
yours and mine
guarantee
is
it.
like pretty close to each other. I don't know about this guy.
I don't know what your guys are. I'm assuming you guys, whatever. I like the crafting in the game systems, but only if it has an effect on the outcome of what you're doing. I'm not like World of Warcraft, the bullcrap blacksmithing and all that stuff. I mean, if you're gonna put a crafting system into a game, it should be able to be something that you can do to create unique items. Like you go out and quest seriously hard for materials, and then you can create that ultimate that nobody else can do. You have to create it in that thing, and then it's got random traits. It's got the basic stuff, but then random traits, which gives you your bonuses for all your stuff. But 90% of the games with crafting, it really has zero to do with the game outcome.
I agree with that.
You know, it's
And the only thing that actually ends up being end game is like food and potions.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of funny. This might be the first topic we all actually kind of agree on.
Do you guys what you guys are?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
I think it's useless in most games.
Yeah.
Like it's fun because it is. You go out and gather your stuff and like I'm gonna make
Yeah.
this potion. I'm gonna level it up because then I'm thinking my idea is it's gonna be used for end game. I'm gonna max this out. I'm gonna
Yep.
have potions for my team, like fort potions, strength potions,
Yep.
whatever. That's my philosophy with it. And I did that in Star Wars. All like I was like potion man. I got everything you need, like the ones you can use in PvP or like what everything. But that's the only thing
Yeah.
is potions, really. I mean, except for like inscriptions, where you can put in weapons, like you did with WoW, John, with your DK. But like, it drives me nuts that you can build this armor, but then it's crap armor that you'll never use in anything
Yeah,
ever.
Timmy loves she plays the World of Warcraft, and she loves doing the herbalism with the potions. She likes gathering, and she likes that because it occupies time. And it does give experience points. So, but once you're max, and so there's nothing else to it. But to me, there should like be that ultimate thing that you spent weeks or months trying to find all the items to that thing that's going to be that ultimate crafted weapon.
Mm-hmm.
It'll never be the same the same thing that somebody else crafted. It might be the same orc slaying battle axe as a name, but it's not going to have the same attributes or specs or whatever. It's going to have its own individual, but it's Like you work hard for that one, and it's massively a bonus for your character.
See, now I think that's a spot where we do disagree. Because, like, you take somebody who is an adventurer and goes and does these raids and these dungeons and all this stuff, and, like, yeah, that's an aspect of the game, and, like, you collect materials, but you alienate a group of people.
I don't know. Just make it so that the materials are a drop inside your thing. So the rarity of that last thing that you would quest for, which is you get it on a drop of 1% for by doing whatever, then in your raids you get if you got top tier damage, top tier healing, top tier whatever, then okay, you have a 1% chance that thing might drop or whatever it is.
But
so you get inclusive, but
I think you still alienate a group of people. So one thing that I really enjoyed about EVE Online, and John and I were kind of talking about this earlier, was no matter what aspect of the game you wanted to do, you didn't have to touch any other aspect of the game. If I wanted to handle logistics and I just wanted to run freighters all day and, deep space transports, like I could do that, and I never had to touch combat. I never had to touch marketing. I never had to touch any of that crap. If I wanted to go be a miner, I could go fit my ship and go into wormhole space and gas mine and like do whatever. I never had to branch out into all these other things. Versus you look into professions, and even like World of Warcraft, I haven't played this newest expansion, so might be talking out my butt a little bit. But previously, it would be in order to make the top tier gear, which was still worse than the top tier raid gear, you had to go do the raid, get the account bound item, come back to your blacksmith, and then build the item yourself after you already conquered the raid that gave you a better item than it was that you were going to create.
Right, yeah.
Or it drops a recipe for badass armor, which is, again, a tier lower than...
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're never going to be able to
enemies.
craft anything better than what you can get. And John and I were talking about this too. If you go into a dungeon and you kill a humanoid and he drops armor, that armor came from somewhere. Somebody had to build, at some point, that armor. Somebody had to craft it. Somebody imbued it with magical properties. So why can't I build something just as powerful?
Right.
Why can't I magically create something as good or better than some Joe Schmo in a dungeon? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me why these random drops are so much better than anything that I can produce. Because, I mean, in an MMO, you are the hero. You're the big good guy, not big bad guy, obviously, but you're the big good guy. You're the hero of the realms, and you are that like top tier person in the realm. Like, why can't you create
Unless you
good
play an evil
stuff?
class, and he can be the big bad guy.
That would actually be interesting to introduce like evil players into an MMO.
The one that I think probably not the best, but it pretty solid was when Diablo came out with the Roderick Cube, and you could change your legendaries for speccing your own stuff. That had a big difference on the playability of your character, like with the armors and weapons and rings and all that stuff. You could reforge it to get the specs out of it that you were looking for.
Do you guys remember the transmog in World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
Where you could like go in and you could change like stats on your items, so you could like completely min-max.
The forging?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
reforging. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, it wasn't transmog.
I was like, the transmog is where you change outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiffany
I
loves
was like,
that one
of
too.
course.
Yeah. No, it kind of gets into that bubble of like everybody getting into the point of min-maxing and like, I have to have the perfect stat, so I'm going to spend 6 hours hitting buttons to try and get this one stat, which if that's the way you want to play the game. It's the way you want to play the game.
I mean, I never did like that part of like rolling the dice to get min-max stats. Like, I know what stats I want. Let me just... With the reforging, you were able to take away stats to add to other stats,
Get
which
what you
to
want.
me was... I mean, people like min-maxing, so let them min-max. People are going to min-max anyways, right? I don't see what you're doing to hurt them by, random, or just by having it randomized every time. It's just like, okay, the one person gets lucky while the other person has to spend like, 2 million in gold, right? And to
16
finally
hours
get
of
it, and
grind.
then finally get the raid tier, the next raid tier happens, and the first drop he gets, he top tiers his one thing when he spent the entire like last like 3 months getting his other one up. And then fucking throws the mice right into his computer and breaks it.
Yeah, I think if you did a game where you solely had to create everything that you were going to use, and there were the thousands of recipes, and you could buy the mundane stuff or mundane magical stuff, but the top tier stuff you had to craft it. That'd be tough. That'd be.
And you know what else also irks me is like the vendors, right? selling like the common stuff. Like, what is this like piece of crap that you're trying to tell me? You're like the finest blacksmith in the town, and you're telling me this piece of POS.
Here's a
It's like,
broken leather hood.
right? Exactly. It's like it's broken. You even say it's broken on the title. Like, I don't know. I think adventurers that have like money or whatever are able to buy from actual vendors legit gear, or just take the vendors out completely. But
Take their shit. Yeah.
I know vendors are there to like add people to make it seem like more like a city. It's like, okay, well, make it a proper city. You have an adventurers full of heroes, right? That I know unload a crap ton of stuff to you guys because, you know.
Oh yeah, because you guys do it like the same with D&D. You guys got all this stuff. You guys need money. Well, here's all my other magic.
Like, he's all my miscellaneous stuff that I'm not using.
Could you imagine if you could create a system inside of an MMO that would put on for sale in the vendor anything that was sold to the vendor?
That would be awesome.
That would be pretty crazy.
It would be too crazy because how many times do you get the same item more than once? Right? So it'd be plus
Quite a
2
bit.
protection or whatever, or the armor plus whatever. I mean, those are going to be a dime a dozen.
Still think it'd be a cool concept though. Because like some people are just like, oh, I don't want to spend the time going to the auction house and selling this. Like, I'm just gonna like right click sell everything in my bag. And you could literally like make your gameplay like going around to vendors and like buying stuff and like reselling. Like people would enjoy that gameplay. They'd be like, it's like thrifting at Goodwill. I'm going around buying stuff and selling it.
Well, what about the whole like New World thing?
I think you get too much into the weeds with that because having a global marketplace versus having random vendors here and there that a player has to actually sell to, I think are two very different things.
Wasn't New World you had to go to the specific person to
Yeah,
sell?
but you didn't have like fast travel, right? And it also depended on whether that town was high enough to sell
I didn't
even
like
some of
that
your
either.
stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's dependent on other people completing other quests, and it's like, wait, hold on. So I can't even have access to all this if I'm playing all day. If this town hasn't progressed to the right stage yet, like, no.
Right, and plus if you're like not if your faction wasn't in control, you're fighting against it.
Right, and you're trying, the currency, it's like an extra 10% or whatever ridiculous amount it was.
Yeah. No, it was pretty bad.
That's where that game lost me, is with the factions. Because every time I get on there and play, somebody else's faction was in charge, and you could never go anywhere. You just get your ass handed to you left and right. And so
This is why I
New
turned the
characters.
PvP off.
right? New characters come in, they see who the strong faction is, they join the strong faction, and all it does is make this strong faction stronger. And you're like,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
It disincentivizes any world PvP because you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go with this group of people who's the minority
Always.
here.
Yeah.
But every time I
Which is
leave,
what we did.
Yeah,
Mhm,
that's
we
true.
did.
Every time we leave town, it's not just a 1v1 or a 1v2. It's a 1v30,
Right.
and like I literally can't quest.
This is why I think like Guild Wars kind of hit the nail on the head there, where they made it server versus server.
Yeah, no, I agree.
World v world.
I think
Like, no, you can't choose a faction. You're just like, you're from this server, you're fighting that server.
I think they executed
Go,
that
go.
very well. So in your guys' opinions, who in your mind executed crafting the best?
Final Fantasy.
Star Wars Galaxies.
Diablo 3.
Nothing was bound to you, so if I crafted stuff, I could give it away to my buddies, so I could craft whatever I wanted. There was so much you could do with it in that game. It's obviously not around anymore, but I think that was probably the best in my personal opinion. I really did think that New World was gonna like maybe change, like be the first game to like change MMOs. And when I got into it, and I'm like a little excited, I'm like learning, and after what was it, like a week, 2 weeks, we were all like, nope.
I'm just a mining simulator.
It's just like,
Yeah,
what am I
right?
doing?
Seriously.
It's funny because like
tink, 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 tink. What?
It was-
Where am I?
the beta for New World, I remember staying up to like 2:00 in the morning one night, like literally running around mining stuff, and I'm like, my account gets deleted in the morning. The game releases a week from now.
Right.
Why am I running around
No.
mining shit?
Exactly. But yeah, it was for whatever it was fun.
For the short period of time, it was enjoyable. I will
Right.
say that.
Not for the $50 freaking dollars.
Oh yeah,
no.
no, it was not worth the price whatsoever.
I do like I didn't like the fact that like you're only giving me what 3 abilities, really, and then dodge, dive, and dodge.
Yep. And I wasn't sure what the story was going. Like
There
I was
wa-
trying to
there
follow
wasn't
the
a story.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I don't get this.
Like
at
the
all.
chaos
And I
consumed-
felt stupid. Like I'm like, can I not follow a story anymore? Like,
And
what's
then, like,
wrong with me?
yeah, and at that point it's like, okay, oh, mining node, do do do
Yeah. This is my story.
do.
I've always wanted to play a dwarf swim.
But like, right? But the thing though, to give Noel credit, though, they did add like instruments to the game, and then they did add like you can actually play songs with other people, like legit song. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm
I was
like,
playing Amazing Grace for you with my loot the other day, and you were like, poo, 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 poo. I'm like, it was great. You can hear the melody.
Like, no, it's just as far as onto Bears playing, like EverQuest 2 and Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I never played EverQuest, so I
See, that
don't
one
know.
actually did pretty good too. EverQuest, I agree with you on that one. That was back in the day. That was
EverQuest or EverQuest 2?
EverQuest.
So
Yeah, I was-
EverQuest was it made by the same people that made the Conan game? The Conan the
No, it's the same people that made Star Wars Galaxy.
Okay.
Hence,
Or was
hence why
still
they
better.
executed.
Right. But like the thing is, like in EverQuest 2, you actually had machines that you had to go to, and then you actually had like this mini game to do to like your crafting, the weaving, and all your stuff, and then like you can max out its potential as being like oh, this is great quality, or wow, you just made shit quality, right? And then like you had writs there for you to complete to help your guild advance or whatnot, so you could just been the crafter the whole entire time. And
It was pretty involved.
some of the stuff, and because the way EverQuest is built, it's not like, oh, just go to a raid tier and get your tier set. Like your crafting was like pretty much your end game, and you also had access to spells to increase your spells damage and stuff beyond to what you can find out in the real world. And so there were actually professions that did make bank and stuff like that, and because it took so long to level, like if I made like a level 10 item, I can sell that level 10 item and make good money on it because someone's going to be level
slow.
10 for a couple days,
Yeah.
right? And yeah,
It was good.
and the reason why I like Final Fantasy is because they kind of took it a step further, allowing you to be any class or any profession and max it out. You weren't stuck to like the 2 profession limit that like most games for some reason
Mm-hmm.
will
Yeah.
hold you back. Is like, oh, make alts. Like, well, I don't want to make an alt. I have one guy to do
Everything
the one thing I want.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like you have achievements, and now they're making achievements like account wide in a lot of games. Like, well, that's the reason because most people the reason why they don't play alts is because, well, this guy's my super shiny, and then now I'm going on to my nobody. And it's like, I don't have
I
anything
was
on
pretty
me.
pissed when they updated the World of Warcraft. 'Cause, like when I used to do the original one, you could do potions and alchemy, and I had like
Dude, Mighty Bruce.
Yes.
Mighty Bruce back in the day, he was his alchemist. He would literally just run around and like his buff bar would just have like 400 things on it.
Oh yeah,
Oh, it was
When-
amazing.
when they limit alchemy to just like, oh, here's a health
Yeah,
potion.
You get defensive and offensive. That's it. And
Well, yeah, and
Are you kidding
then
me?
And then
And
health
then it's
health
like-
potions you could only do like once every 60 seconds, but it has to be you have to get out of combat before they refresh.
right,
Yeah,
they can
no,
only
it
do
was-
once per second.
You're,
Dude,
you're
I was-
gimping.
Oh my gosh, in freaking Burning Crusade, I was chugging mana potions like every 10%. Like
Yep.
my mana went down 5%. Chug it, because I was a raid healer, so I was like, you had mana management back then, and it involved going around potions,
Yeah,
right? Like each attempt would cost me like 5 potions, right?
yeah,
Give or take.
and it made it so that crafting was like it was necessary
Right.
in the game. You had to have it, and
And
I mean
potions
like
were relatively cheap because you needed to buy a lot of it, but you're able to make a lot of it too.
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
versus nowadays, like you said, you get the battle elixir and like that's it.
yeah. So you got Toll's Blood and defense and
right, it's like you don't even need the defensive ones. Like, okay,
1 point.
and then you get a
1
flask, and
hour.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And
Yeah,
it's just like, okay, I get the flasks are cool, but it's like, where's the 50 buffs that I can like make this guy totally overpowered just because
yeah. What's
of elixirs?
Yep.
if I want to spend 100 gold to go into this one fight with all my different buffs and all my different potions, like
Yeah.
that's on me. Like
Right.
why are you killing my gameplay?
Like people find ways to to over maximize their character by not just having like the basic stuff that you give us. Like they'll go out and farm like certain items that you're able to use in the world, and it's like, oh, well, this will increase my damage by this much. Oh, it's like, okay, but if I eat this food, this will also increase my damage this much. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you just put that in the freaking alchemy, right? Why do you force people to have to do all this like roundabout way? It's like obviously allowed in the game for people to do it, but yet,
Yeah.
here you are, just like, oh no, we just want to do battle elixirs and defensive. It's like, okay,
Yeah, that sucks.
I think most of your team now consists of artists because your art's on point, but everything else mechanically is just like, what are you guys doing?
I actually had fun when I could do like 12 potions at a time. Just
Right.
Granted, and you die, it's like, okay, well, here you go.
Yeah. So gotta go make some more. Yeah, but now it's just like one.
So what would the cap be in your like? Because do you draw a cap?
Well, I think I don't.
Well, I mean, it'd be a buff cap, but that'd
Yeah.
be just anything else.
I don't know because
Like
it's like rings. You can only have 5 rings, right? So I get it. Maybe just 5 potions or whatever, but don't 2 offensive, defensive. Because I want to do the one that gives me hit points back every hour or every minute, every second. I want to do the one that increases my armor. I want to do the one that increases my attack, the effectiveness of my spells, the radius of my spells, the times I attack per round. I mean, there's so much you can do buff wise. It's just like, why you? Yeah, you just nerfed me like a motherfucker.
Like, it's like I'm playing a warrior. It's like, but these potions allow me to take stuff from maybe like another class that I wouldn't have access to.
that's what I was just thinking.
Like, why not? It's like,
Right. Like you have a paladin next to you and they can give you auras or buffs,
Yeah.
right? But what happens if you're playing with a different group and you need rely
buff,
on
yeah.
that. You're like, this is how I normally fight. I need that little extra that to play my role. So why can't I have this potion, 2 hours or whatever time? Because for me, as playing a primary like the healer class, I would love to like I did in Star Wars. I would have like those potions that I would give that they would buff your like a main stat that you needed. So I had them for anybody that didn't have one. I was like, you need it before we go to PvP. I will not PvP with you unless you have one.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that adds more to it because if I could create potions for my whole team, I would get a lot of fun out of that because my whole goal is to make sure I piss off the other team by staying alive and keeping people up.
Right.
So,
Or even if
like, that'd be so fun. Like, just like, here's your potions, boys.
Or even if you could create the scrolls for the spells that you
Yeah.
can actually cast. I don't need to have the spells ready, but if you guys are in combat and I have 5 scrolls and I'm like, I tag scroll, you tag scroll, you tag scroll, you tag scroll, you, and then I go into my normal casting shit. Why can't I do that? Why it's an actual. That's the way it works.
That's a really good fucking idea.
Yeah, because
right?
like
I didn't even
how
think about
picture it-
that.
how I picture it, and you'll see this in the next book, is where they'll throw a scroll and it burns,
Yeah.
burns away, and it's cast. And
yeah.
I'm like, whew.
Dude,
Can you imagine that in a game?
you can
Right.
create like a whole inscription system
oh yeah,
where it's like, oh,
actually
the
useful.
warrior's running around and dropping like frost novas like all over the place because he bought like 50 scrolls.
Right.
Like, dude, that would be
and
insane.
then like, and you can still have like an arena system or a ranking system to where it limits to what you can use,
Oh, absolutely.
right? But I mean,
Make
for the
it
most
competitive.
part, it's like if you're like doing battlegrounds, come on,
I mean, even the arena system, that would add so much like
Flavor. Yeah, we
it would-
you wouldn't,
flavor.
You wouldn't have metas as much either.
Exactly.
You would not
Everybody
have
would-
metas because they would be like, I don't
would
know what
actually
the
do
heck I'm
PvP.
fighting. Like,
but then I mean, there's strategy to knowing what you can, what you fight against to know what to have.
Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, you have a basis, but I'm saying like to the point where it's like, what if this guy's stacked in something totally different?
Last time I fought him it was fire. This time it's ice.
Like, that just
Yeah.
adds so
See,
much.
So say like World of Warcraft, RPM is just one of the most ridiculous arena ones always. So what if you're rocking like warrior paladin, but you don't
There's
really
a whole bunch of players.
yeah, whole bunch of players, dude. Like you run into like they're just like, oh, we got this. Like warriors won't be able to pull us out of stealth. Like cool. And then like literally everybody's running around like flare. Like, dude, it completely changes the meta. It makes rogue mage almost useless. And like,
Or it makes them
Yeah.
have to adapt in a different
Correct.
way. Like,
Correct.
I'm not going to get an opener like I
it
used
adds to the gameplay, and I feel like gameplay is more important than metas.
Right. Well, I mean, and it's up to the developer to how to destroy those metas too.
Yeah.
Or how to not necessarily destroy them, but
It's-
just make it like
It's
okay,
up to the players to destroy the meta.
right.
We're being honest here.
Correct.
That's true. By
That's
making
all.
other
Built-
metas.
if you have a built-in system where if somebody does this, you do this, you automatically nerf them. That's
Man,
okay, you're not thinking.
I'm gonna redact this whole conversation from the podcast.
Right, because also
Yeah,
could
I
be,
was thinking
we're
that
gonna read
too,
like Blizz News, like
Oh,
new system to our PvP policy.
we're not.
Um,
we're
It's
not.
true though. I mean, it would add so much more. I mean, I would be enticed to get in there and do that shit because then you're not limited. You're like, I can do anything I can't. If I spend the money and the time to get the shit that I want, shit, I'm tearing it up. I'm having fun now. I'm not going in there going, heal.
Roll.
So that being said, that's definitely a conversation we need to have off podcast.
Off camera.
So what about you? Who in your mind has done the best crafting system?
I'd have to go just off the top of my head. If I was the one I enjoyed probably the most was Diablo 3 with when you got the heroic cube and you were able to reforge all that shit.
Like to me, that's like not crafting. That's just like
It kind of is because you have to
Actual-
get you have to get the
materials
parts
and-
from the different acts, and then you
Yeah.
have to put them all together.
And it's
And
pricey.
it's a chance to get things,
Right.
but like it's still in a way crafting. I would consider it crafting, but I would consider it almost more loot box crafting than like
Right.
actual crafting.
But like,
But if I was gonna-
what I'm talking about, like a system, like even when you go to the blacksmith, right? It's like, oh, I have the materials, craft this.
Yeah,
why am I waiting for a line?
If I was
It's
going
like,
to throw one out there, it would be EverQuest.
Right.
It was the most. It was hard too. It wasn't just like, oh, here you go and you level up. No, no.
you had
spent
spells to
time.
do your things.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was probably I'll say mundane. But it was a slow, hard. If you ran into somebody who was 25th level or 30th level, you're like, that's some fucking time on that shit
Right.
because they spent time. It was.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
it was slow.
but their end game gear was like,
So, yeah, if I was going to throw one out there that was more just crafting, you could get away with a lot of other shit. Would be EverQuest.
Interesting. See, for me, and this is just me on the Guild Wars bandwagon, probably. I actually do like the way they executed their end game content for their crafting system, and even like their leveling content for the
For who?
crafting system. Guild Wars 2.
Oh,
Because it's
I
like
see.
you have to discover recipes by crafting and by putting different components together. I like that aspect. I'm going to be honest with you. When I leveled my leatherworking from 1 to 500 in 2 days, I looked up a guide because I wasn't going to sit there and F around with trying to figure out the best recipe. But that's because it's on like its 5th expansion, and I'm not going to just
right.
dick my way through it for no reason. But I think, especially like in a brand new game, executing something like that, like right off the bat, definitely a good system to implement. And then your kind of point, this isn't in reference to Guild Wars, but your point of like, why am I watching this bar go up to create this item? Like, give me something to be engaged with. Like, give me this task that I have to do to create this item. And then if I do it poorly, it's a poor quality item. If I do it decent, it's a decent quality item. And if I do it like pinpoint exceptional, it's like masterwork and it's the best item I've ever created. Like, there's so much you could do with a crafting system to really get your players involved
Mhm.
and make it so that like it is truly an aspect of the game that takes time to master. It would blow people away, and it would just get your gamers like more into what they're trying to do.
With that, would you think it would be okay to have dungeon gear or raid gear or whatever you're unlocking and
Mhm.
it's top tier? Would you allow players to make gear that could potentially be better than that?
Yeah, why not?
I think wholeheartedly,
Yeah.
crafted gear should be better than anything you can
I
find
agree.
on a boss.
Awesome.
And
Yeah,
on top
I
of
agree.
that, John and I were talking earlier. So like my reference point when we were talking, it's like, oh, you go into this raid and you kill Urok's general, and he drops 5 pieces of gear. Somebody had to make the gear at some point, so why can't I make gear better than that?
Right.
And then you get to, I won't name drop any of our hidden stuff, but you get to the boss, and you get his scales,
Mhm.
and then you take those scales and you take it back to
I don't know what he's talking about. You know what he's talking about?
you take those scales, you take it back to your crafter, and now you can make even more exceptional things. And then like adding in an implementation for a system where you can like, I'm not a crafter, but I have all these crafting materials.
Like having an actual work order system that works.
Yeah.
Correct.
That would be awesome.
So that it takes the raider who doesn't want to invest the time into crafting, and then you can partner with somebody who doesn't want to go raid, but he
Right.
got to make that really cool piece of gear because you gave him the materials and some gold, and then he made it for you. Like,
And you can even have guild halls to where you can do it all within guild too.
which
Right.
Guild Wars does. But I haven't gotten deep enough
I don't know
into
'cause I haven't
the
gone
Charlie
into a guild yet.
Foxtrot of guilds to know all of it.
You guys haven't created a guild yet?
It takes too much time and effort, and
Not
like
yet.
I-
I will when I release the book, like when we get the game. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna start streaming. I'm gonna start building like a
Yeah.
kind of a community that we can play with. Maybe some of our fans, people that. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. So I've been saving and hoarding and trying to collect stuff for just so we have, or at least
It's ready to go.
yeah, pretty much.
fun. More to come for Sundered Gaming. Dun,
Oh,
dun,
yeah.
dun.
There is a lot to come.
Oh yeah, there is. We got a lot in the bag. It's just a matter of it all coming to fruition.
Executing it.
Patience.
Yeah, patience.
Together.
Whew,
Right
That is-
now.
that is something that definitely lacking.
What, fruition?
No,
Patience.
patience.
Oh.
Because you get eager, you're excited. Let's do it now, and then it's like, no, not ready.
Right.
Him all week. He's like, when you doing this? When you doing this? I said, did you not read my timeline? Because this whole week, Friday, is my deadline for character creation. He's like, no, we can do this. I'm like, no. Character creation.
He's so full of it.
No, you were bugging me. When you doing the animation? When you doing the live video?
because
when
when-
you doing,
Because
and I was like, hey, maybe Thursday we'll get together. We'll do the live video capture so we can do. He's like, what about this and this? I'm like, no. Character creation.
I'm asking questions.
No, you weren't. You were pushing it. Hey, what's next? What are you doing next? What
Hey,
are you,
do the devs know that you guys have a little animosity?
Right.
'Cause
Yes,
I mean,
very
they're gonna,
much.
they're gonna hammer
Yeah.
us.
They really
Once
don't.
Once they see this video, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to get pulled into the
Go
office.
pulled into the office.
They really don't appreciate the the animosity text messages at 2:00 in the morning in the group chat.
Better than the TikTok messages. Yes, dude,
better than my
2 o'clock
work
in the
phone billion at 2:00 in the freaking morning? Going, what the fuck? Gotta go to work.
Oh,
Nah, screw that.
Kiss my potatoes.
All right. So now on the flip side of that coin, who do you think implemented the worst system?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Wow.
I was gonna say World of Warcraft Shadowlands.
Like not even expansion wise, just coming, like I said, coming from EverQuest 2 right to that epic crafting system,
Mhm.
and then seeing how WoW did their crafting, I was like, what?
Well, when you go from a system that is semi influential on what you're doing to it has absolutely nothing to do with what you're doing. That's like,
except for
what do
maybe
you-
solo questing.
Well, and,
Not even
and
really
even when you're
that,
solo
I mean-
questing, you out leveling the gear that you're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
I meant more like potions.
Yeah, but like potions
That was
is
a lot
like,
of crafting
add
when I first started.
one point of armor for an hour. Okay. Ooh.
Crafting.
You can bet more than that just by doing the Paladin Aura. 150.
Well, I think spells should be stronger than some of the actual like the like elixirs and scrolls should be like hand me down like the
Supplementals.
but not the same as the spell. So if you had
100%.
devotion or that did the 200 armor, it's like okay, well I'll have this stone skin that is going to give me 150. Right, it won't stack on top of each other, but if I don't have the paladin, at least I have 150.
Right.
I guess if Diablo 3, that's their crafting system, I would have to say that I don't like that at all.
Wow.
Because if that's how they do their crafting, I think that's crap. Like I don't mind the fact that you can do what you were saying. Like I think that's cool. But if that's what they consider their crafting system, I'm like, man, that sucks. Like I can just get a chance to do this. Like
Right.
have an actual full
Well,
crafting system.
Diablo 3 does have an actual crafting system. They have the blacksmith, they have the jewel crafter, they have
but
that
see,
stuff.
that stuff.
But
gets
it's
so-
mediocre because you pick up the recipe and then you can create some like mediocre legendaries
It's never
and
the-
set pieces.
It's never.
But then
the-
none of those set
so-
pieces, or very rarely do you use any of those set
Yeah, 'cause
pieces.
you can't
for
make
your stuff.
Firebirds. You can't make the Paladins for the.
You and Firebirds, dude. I have never seen someone die on a mage more than you. You and your BS Firebird set.
Well, we
Don't
take
worry, guys. I
Firebirds
got into combat, but
You
I
take
didn't run.
and you go into making it all ice. That kind of throws
Lord.
off everything. It was kind
I've
of.
never seen somebody die on Diablo 3 more than you.
Dylan, hello.
Or John's monks.
John's monks. That once it popped, it just kept
Dude, that was
popping
like-
night.
How many times did you die that one night?
Hmm.
Like 5 after we got you to 70?
Dude, there's like even with my mage at 70 when I had all the stuff, all the right stuff on there. I had like 5 procs. And I always go, bam.
Yeah, until you couldn't.
Yeah.
Although my favorite death in hardcore has been Diablo 4. With my main man.
Yeah, that was.
It was
We
something
both-
epic. Just like, oh
Dude,
no, this
we
is
went
the
through
end.
all of our potions in this boss fight. We were like,
And he wasn't even like a quarter of the way down.
and
Wow.
we were both just like, "This is it." I'm like,
Right.
"I'm sorry, John."
Right.
Like, it was like this.
We both went over the mic.
The
This
goodbyes.
is it. And then one swipe and got both of us and we're dead.
It's a good way to go.
It was because I was just like, "Crap, man, we're done." And then like one thing, because you guys introduced me, because I never really got into the hardcore mode, because I'm like, I don't have time for this. Like, I'm playing so many other games right now. Like, I
Yeah.
just want to play and not die. Like, but playing it hardcore and even Diablo 4, I had a lot of fun doing that, just because it's like I made a little character background, you know, just like in
Yeah.
D&D, and I'm thinking about the character, what he's doing, and then I'm getting invested in this guy, and then he gets killed, and I'm like, fudge!
Yeah.
But-
no, it was.
It was cool because like our characters had like a little camaraderie. Like, I got you. We're like playing off of each other, and we're gonna go do this big. Oh, it was so sad.
I'm actually very tempted to try the World of Warcraft hardcore now.
There's a lot of griefing.
Is it out yet?
Yeah, it's out. So I watched a couple videos on it, and pretty much like all the big like World of Warcraft streamers went to World of Warcraft hardcore, and like 90% of every video they post on like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or Reels or like any of that stuff, it's talking about like how terrible the griefing is. Like
Oh.
60 level rogues going into Elwyn Forest and like sitting on top of Silverleaf and then decloaking when somebody comes up to right click so they engage into combat and the rogue kills you.
Right.
Like constantly.
Yeah, they had to.
Yeah,
have
they could
expected
eliminate that bullshit.
Yeah.
Did they not expect that?
It's just
Well, you really, I mean, you have playtesters, but a lot of playtesters aren't looking at it like how am I going to.
Yeah, but you
Keep
get reported and
everybody-
they get banned.
they'll ban you for some griefing. I don't know if they'll ban you for that one.
That's intentional griefing.
They just need-
That's a
yeah,
bannable offense.
Is it?
for life.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
well,
done. Get out.
So that's
No,
how they're dealing
because
with it.
When you read their statement as far as how they wanted hardcore to do, your engagement between like level 1 and level 60 should not happen at all.
Ever.
correct.
Right. So the fact that that's even happening, they're seeing what's happened. It's intentional griefing. Why are you standing on top of a silver leaf?
Right.
At 60, no one forest.
Or like running over to dead bodies and like laying on top of them so people can't loot them. Like, it's another one. It's just,
Oh.
I like genuinely, I'm interested in playing just because it's like I very much enjoy Diablo
this is when you
hardcore.
use the keypad pickup loot.
I have to check it out tonight.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it yet.
I haven't looked at it at all.
Let's all sub our accounts tonight for the 30 minutes I can play when I get home before I have to go to bed.
The 30 minutes. see if you die within 30 minutes.
Probably rock a
I'll
mage.
get on. I'll get on.
Nah, I'm gonna Guild Wars 2 kick right now. Until I get sick of that game, I won't sub to the WoW.
Well, I'm gonna get. I'll jump on Guild Wars. Check it out. I gotta.
That's what you told us a month ago.
Dude, I've been so.
And we did
You
not,
get on,
did
and
not-
it's like I got so much other shit I need to be doing right now. But I'm actually.
Yeah, we
one
know.
day
We
ahead
know.
of where I'm at. So fuck you.
Uh,
So yeah,
How's that Dyson streak going?
good. I restart that thing all the time because I get so. Everything gets so busy and so wrapped up, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I like simple sometimes. I start over.
like it's too complicated. I don't want it to be
I
easy.
do that in Rome Total War. I'm like, I've conquered most of it. It's like this is getting too
Too many-
much management.
yeah.
I
Then
want
I
to
got-
be like struggling again.
12 planets. I got 16 different things to try to create Dyson spheres, and like, no, I just like the simple. Get this.
The one to two planet.
Right. Like, once you get like 6 or 7 planets going, you're like, fuck what? And then because took me the longest time to figure out you can rename your planets. So I'm like, fuck, what was the name of that shit? Now it's Shad 1, uranium. Yeah,
Chad's uranium planet.
Yep.
Chad's titanium planet.
Yeah, so
That's
now I
awesome.
just rename them to titanium or whatever.
Chad's
I'm fucking-
depleted titanium planet.
No, I usually go infinite on all my materials. I don't want to do because that is the worst, especially when you're trying to get off your first planet and you run out of resources and you're like,
Wow,
I literally had to
I've
fly
I've
somewhere
yet
else
to
to
run out
get
of my
more
resources.
to come back to and kiss my grits.
My grits.
So, if you could implement a system
Yes,
for what's that? What did you just say?
don't worry about it.
I'm gonna go find out when I do the edits. So if you could implement a crafting system, what changes would you make? What would you make different from everything else that would make it stand out in your mind would be the ultimate crafting system?
To me, I think the crafting system should be like you're fighting a mob, but you're actually crafting something.
Worthwhile.
And I say that in a sense to where you have to know what buttons to push and yada 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 and stuff like that.
Oh.
Whether it becomes a rotation or not,
Yeah,
it's something to look into. But it's something that to be involved instead of just like, oh, I got everything to make my master cloak.
Ding, 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 done.
Never thought about that. You're right. Yeah.
No, I like that because it does take it. Because if you're gonna have the ability to make gear that's better than what's in the game,
Mm-hmm.
then it should have an element of like you have to be skilled. Like you
Right.
actually have to be skilled.
Right.
Like you don't get this title of master craftsman or master alchemist or whatever until you've actually earned that position. And now you're making stuff that everybody's like, hey, is that guy on? I need that. I need whatever.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, because if you as your skills, so just in my head, I was just picturing if you had like, say you had like 4 little boxes and you had something that was going to over the box and you had to click on the box when it covered it and then went to the next box, and then your skill got as you got better or you did more, your skill got higher. It would make it easier for you to click on the boxes while it's doing it, so that that's your incrementation of increasing your skills. But I get what you're saying.
I don't know how you would execute it, but I feel like there's definitely a way to do it. And whether that's like kind of how Fable 2 and 3 do it, where it's like the professions where you go to the blacksmith and you like, it has basically this bar that goes along and you have to hit certain buttons
Good points.
that go along with that bar. So it'll be
kinda
like,
guitar.
it'll be
Hero
like,
or
yeah,
something.
almost like Guitar Hero when you're doing the crafting. So I mean, even if it was like, I'm an alchemist and there's 6 abilities that I have while I'm at this alchemy station, and I have to know based on what I'm watching happen at this alchemy station, if this flask is overfilling, I have to know to, flip the lever and drop the heat source so it did like whatever that looks
What
like.
if you play potion craft
That
for
would,
alchemy?
that would be pretty good.
No, that
But
would be
I-
like, something like that would be sweet.
So especially when you have to like map travel to like and then remember where you went.
Yeah.
Oof.
That would be actually very interesting to implement into crafting games.
I mean, that wouldn't be that hard because I mean, just like the game itself. I mean, it's not that big.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That would be interesting.
Yeah,
I don't
it's not
know
big
how
at
many
all.
I don't know how many people you would get interested in that.
I don't know how many people have bought potion craft.
I don't have
No,
an
as
answer.
a
I don't
game-
have an answer to that question.
That'll tell you. That's how many people would be interested.
Well, I tell you, in
like
between
500,000, yeah.
PvP time, I would be crafting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would be crafting and learn, like trying to master at least just one. Like
In between
and
literally every PvP
Yep.
match.
that's all I would be doing. I mean, if it's ours, if it's our story or our MMO, that I'm play the story, of course. 'Cause-
We have an MMO?
Yeah, and like 39 or something like that.
It just says 23 question mark. I don't think I have Steam on this computer.
So sad.
I think when
But-
I got it, there were 10,000
It would also be nice if each crafting
reviews.
system would be different from another.
I agree.
As far as weapons, armors,
Well, no, if you're a blacksmith, I mean, armor smithing and weaponsmithing would probably be the same, but it's gonna have a different interface and different interaction than if you're like a leather worker or an alchemist.
yeah. No, I'm
Mhm.
with you. That'd be cool.
Oh, 100%.
That way, just you get the whole. Like, could you imagine doing like cooking, like what's those, like those Japanese games, cooking games? You have to like flip the eggs and do all this other stuff to make the perfect.
Cafeville?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
You talking about Wreck-It
I'm
Ralph
not
when they're trying to
sure.
make her car?
no. I said Japanese cooking
I-
games.
yeah, well, they cook the
I've
car.
never seen a Japanese cooking game.
Oh, you should probably look one up.
Are they
Wow.
fun, John?
Apparently.
How many did it say?
So it's got 20,000 reviews.
It should
So at least
say-
20,000 people had an opinion on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Should
That's
say
fair.
how many downloads.
No, they don't give that information on Steam.
But I'm just saying, even if that's just 20,000 of people who just want to craft, I mean, that's
Yeah, but I do like your idea of like if it's leatherworking, it's different than if it's alchemy, which is
Yep,
different
right.
if it's inscriptions, which is different if it's enchant. Like because if you were to throw the same crafting system into
It would
every
get boring
every
very
single
quick.
one of those, nobody would ever max everything out.
right.
But I think he totally hit it
Well, I
on the
mean,
head because,
people will max it out because people will max it out anything out.
right.
For the vast majority of people, won't.
But like when crafting is not always the thing that I'm going into. Like say World of Warcraft, Tiffany loves running around catching plants and making
Mhm.
alchemy stuff, while I'm over there killing animals and doing all the other stuff. She would literally spend her whole time. She wouldn't fight anything ever because she doesn't like combat. She would spend her whole time, if she could level, just crafting shit.
Question for you.
Yeah.
How does one catch a plant?
Does they catch a plant?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Got to catch them all.
Pokemon.
Well, I mean,
I heard catch a plant and I was like trying to figure that out in my head.
Yeah,
I
no,
knew what
she
you meant.
she loves, and then she loves
Hunting
going into
plants.
the transmogger and changing all her appearance. She
Outfits and
loves
stuff.
changing her outfits.
Hey.
Look at me! Look at me!
You should get her in Guild Wars because that's the whole. Most of that game is
Is it?
just cosmetics.
I don't know. I think that one would be hard. You have to be very spatially aware for Guild Wars.
Yeah,
Like they.
Well,
World of Warcraft
No, I
is
meant
simple
like
and
I
run.
meant
And,
like just for the
Oh,
gathering,
yeah,
gathering and
yeah.
stuff, Just run around and
Yeah, because
actually, the easiest gathering is in Final Fantasy.
I was gonna say, don't say EverQuest because that's a
No, because
Ru-
essentially,
Final
RuneScape?
Fantasy the
Escape was
14.
tough.
Yeah.
Fuck.
because you're able to go into the level that. So your gathering profession obviously has levels, right? And so you go out into the world and you can gather and you can make yourself unseen by the enemies there. So you can just go around from node to node
Other
and
stuff.
gather all your stuff, and then you get higher, and then you can go into a higher place. So essentially, your gathering profession can be higher than your main profession, and it can be in the high end areas gathering your high end materials, right? But you're like a level 1 swordsman.
You could. Why not make that a class though? Why would you not make a gather? As a
No,
class?
that's what they did.
Class?
Yeah.
So, and that's why I said Final Fantasy kind of perfected on the EverQuest system, to where
That's your class.
you can level any profession, right? But you're not limited to one. So essentially, a profession, in their eyes, is whatever main weapon that you're holding, right? So if you have a saw, you're a carpenter, right? If you have a pot, you're a cooker. If you have a blacksmith hammer, you're obviously a blacksmith.
Yeah.
So whatever thing that you had, if you had a scythe, you're a botanist. So you went out there with your scythe to go gather all your materials, and that was a separate 1 through 60 experience than if you're a miner.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Botany. I was thinking,
I don't know.
for whatever you said, botanist. You said a psi. I
A
imagined.
scythe.
Yeah, I imagined freaking death. And then you said
Botany.
botanist, and I'm like, how's it psi with a bot? Just in my head, like that's murder.
Or sickle scythe? Do
No,
you want me
yeah,
to say
no,
that?
no, I'm good. It's the quandaries in my head. The 15
You need that. You
the
need that
15 mice
side.
in my head that are having conversations that I'm just not listening to.
You need that side to catch the plant.
Yeah, you're good. I was just that's what I was like. Wait, okay.
I'm not trying to explain myself. It's like, you look very confused.
Well, about a half a second. Like, Dad, botany. Like, no.
I mean, you're killing the
maybe-
plants.
True.
Death is visiting the botanist today.
Yeah, no, I'm killing the plants. I'm
But yeah, I mean, there's
right out from their
there's definitely
roots.
people out there who would not play a combat aspect of a game and just love to go in and do the
Or like fishing.
yeah.
I don't know how you can ever make unless you're doing like actual like real big fish. Like
I think you could make fishing actually halfway
Yeah.
decent. Like
Yep.
I somewhat
Really
enjoyed
like one of those
fishing
games.
in World of Warcraft because like I have my laptop
would-
sitting here with my mouse over the bobber, and I'd be like doing other shit on my other computer, and I'd hear the whoosh, and I would just click, catch the fish, recast, hover
you're
over.
doing something else.
Yeah, I was never truly like, oh, I'm really engaged
Right.
in like this fishing. It's
So like
just
to me, I
it's
couldn't,
so
I couldn't
good.
do fishing. I'd be like cast out.
Literally.
See, verse,
Crash out.
Your tune's getting dragged through the water because you got a shark.
see now
Oh,
if you
drown.
made a like a fishing system where it's like you cast out and then you have to like based on the different locations you have to fish differently. Like
Right.
you have to
That
actually
would
like
be cool.
you have to like, oh, I have to put bobbers on because I'm not able to like these fish aren't gonna follow my dovetail spinner.
You'd have to
But
put-
then you have to go somewhere else where you have to cast and you have to slow reel at a certain speed, and then when you get a pull, you actually have to like click a button to pull in, and then you
And
have
then
to
like,
do, like
you're actually like on a boat with a harpoon.
You'd actually
100%.
If you can incorporate one of those
Like
handheld
going after the
games
Leviathan.
into the system. That'd be perfect.
that would be funny.
Have an old Moby Dick storyline in there.
That would actually be very interesting to implement. See if you could get like one of the like actual handheld like things.
And implement it into a game.
Yeah,
Oh, my
where you have to
goodness.
like
Dude, that'd be great.
that would be funny.
Extra peripherals for it. Well, I don't know. We'll see where the MMO state is at that point.
Right.
Yeah, in 2030 something.
It could be our MMOs in virtual land. So
Well,
Basically,
we're
actually.
getting ready to go down to probably in December. I can't remember where it's at, but it's like $45 for 15 minutes per person, and you get to go. You put on all the gear, 3D reality, and you get to go through and clear out zombies or combat.
you got to have it set up to where like here's a block, right? The block is physically there, and
Physically
you
there,
should,
right.
oh shit, okay,
Yeah.
I can actually climb on this. Okay.
No, it's supposed to be pretty damn good. So that's where I think MMOs are going. Squad on squad.
That's so cool.
I mean, that would be cool.
SEAL
Sitting
Team
in your
6.
living room, we're all like mic'd up, and I'm like, I got you.
on your Omni treadmills.
Yeah, you remember when they introduced those things? Like I want to say it was like 10 years ago. They introduced the whole like suit you put
Right.
on where you're like inside that octagon thing and you
Yeah,
can
I
like
thought it was pretty
run.
badass.
I think it'd be awesome to like if they could figure out a way to mass produce those at like a good price.
Right,
Like-
we're not spending like $2,000 on
Dude,
it.
if I could play some like some Call of Duty with that thing on, I would probably actually play Call of Duty. I'd lose like 20 pounds.
Right.
People would be like
Oh,
easy.
World of Warcraft, you can do any game you're looking at. You can do it.
I think World of
which
Warcraft
one?
would be exhausting.
Like they had like the vest now, right? They're supposed to be like where you're filling everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know those like commercials for like the Woozer thing.
Woozer, yeah.
The what?
It's Woozer. It's a
Woozer,
full body.
It's like a full body speaker.
Yeah. So when when something hits you, boom, you feel the concussive because it hits you with the sound.
Right. I was
Really?
thinking
Yeah.
that because I think those are cheaper than the actual vest, and I'm thinking like you could get one of those and actually.
Still pretty expensive.
It would be nice
Oh, it's
because
cheaper
like
than the vest.
Call of Duty, you're getting shot and then you're like, I don't know where any of this is coming
I was
from.
like, oh, my left shoulder.
And you're like, huh, there it is.
What happens when you get knifed? Like it just shocks you.
Right? Yeah,
That would be
electrodes.
funny.
Get electrodes all over. It's a 360-point electrode system.
Oh,
I got shot in the ass.
What about you on that one, Bear? If you could implement something into crafting systems, what would be the number one thing you'd be looking for?
crafting that's useful. That's like my main thing. So if I'm gonna craft, that I want it to go max, and then I want to be able to create better stuff that's better than the gear in the game.
So,
That's
so you care more about the end result than you do about the system.
correct. Like that. If it's a middling system, whatever, but it has an implementation that I can get a better staff or a better shield for my paladin or whatever, then create it myself. That's, to me, that's more fun. Especially if I can put in specific things in it that like no one else would ever have in theirs. Like, oh, I'm defensive, but then I have a oh crap button, in my staff or whatever it is. Like,
You know what? Now that we're thinking, and I'm thinking of, like on the systems itself, one of the things that is atrociously known is that like whenever you're crafting, especially like an armor profession, right? Like if you're doing like potions and stuff like that, you can kind of level as you go. Oh, technical difficulties. You can kind of level as you go, right? And
Bear, tearing things up.
your alchemy's on par with your adventuring level, right? But one of the things that, like, if you try to do that with like armory or any type of weapon or armor system crafting, you're always behind on your crafting, right? You're always out leveling
Right.
whatever it is that you're doing. And I'm thinking,
You're always higher than your skill, your level.
right, especially with how like quick some of the leveling systems are nowadays.
Yeah.
To me, I think, well, why don't we make it a system involved to where you can either upgrade the gear that you currently have with your crafting system, and then depending on how well your crafting system determines how much boosted those stats get. So that way, you're always trying to increase. Because like I don't see why you couldn't take. Oh, I found this dagger out in the world. Oh, it's nice and shiny, right? Yeah, I'm a blacksmith. I kind of know what I'm doing. I may not be able to craft this quality yet, but hey, trial and error. See what can I add to it, and I get like a +1, right? Well, it's not much, but hey, it lasts me until next level until I get more stuff to upgrade my. And so that way, it's like kind of like a dynamic leveling or upgrading system as you're leveling. So that way, you actually being useful while you level, and then maybe the last 30 points you're at your max level adventuring, and you just need the last 30 points to keep upgrading your gear, which I'm pretty sure that'd be a lot more sensible than crap, I still have like 4 more tiers to get before I max level on my.
See, and that's sort of on your point.
You understand what I'm saying, right?
I get what you mean. Like, why can't I upgrade gear that I find in the world?
Right.
Why can't I upgrade the stuff that I have on?
Blacksmithing and the place to do it at and all that stuff and the time and the materials. Why can't I reforge this blade in something?
Or like tear down.
And that's something I think Guild Wars does extremely well, giving you the scrapping things where you can go and you can scrap all these different pieces of armor and you can get your crafting materials back.
Right. I think that should be built into the profession, to be honest.
Correct.
Instead of just using those bags.
I don't think a blacksmith should be able to take leatherworking material and break it down.
Right.
Like that doesn't make any sense.
They want that belt buckle.
Right.
Yeah, I mean maybe they can get some stuff out of it, but like 100%, I'm definitely of the realm of like you should be able to anything you build can be broken down into parts and materials that you can.
Because I mean
reuse.
it's the way it is.
All right, look at Fortune Fire. Everyone uses leaf springs to make swords. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Honestly, you think if I'm thinking about it, the best for me, the best crafting system that I've ever experienced was in
online.
First one. Nope, Dungeons and Dragons tabletop, the original one. When you were creating your items, use your experience points base story. You could actually, by creating a powerful weapon, unlevel yourself, de-level yourself, up yourself.
You're spending the
You're
points.
spending experience points. Then it meant something. You were like, "Yep, I'm not just gonna forge anything willy-nilly. If I'm giving you 10,000 experience points, which is gonna keep me from making my next level, that means something."
So would you say that that's something you would want implemented? Is that
if you're
that would be interesting?
If you want to put a pin on in a system that this is going to cost you, and it means something in the end when you're done doing it, that's one way to do it.
I find it interesting.
I mean,
so say you take somebody who only wants to be a blacksmith. They don't want to do anything else in the game. They literally just want to like open up some blacksmith shop and like that's what they want to do. How do they level? How do they progress? How do they imbue their power?
Their own leveling.
Right. So you can still so even when you're creating and doing all that stuff, you're still leveling, doing your stuff. But there's a point where you want to make that artifact level item. It's going to cost you. So yeah, you have now gained and done your adventuring, or you've done all your time blacksmithing, or create whatever it is. You've leveled that up so far. Now you're going to try to make that artifact item, that ancient item, whatever it's going to be. That's going to cost you experience points. It could take you down a level. Costly.
That would be interesting.
To be honest, I'm more for the fact that if it to kill you, I'd take that punishment over than losing my experience points.
Kill your tune?
There's a possibility of you dying in the process?
Yeah. Like you fuck up, you get major damage, and then if you don't kill yourself or tend to it, it's like you could like bleed out and be like, oh shit. Now you're just dead on the guild hall. Having to wait for someone to res you. Having someone to res you.
Dungeons and Dragons First Edition. Yeah, that would probably be the most
First edition.
brutally honest crafting system.
But like, because like it doesn't make sense because then you're essentially dumbing yourself down because I made this weapon. Like, oh, I made this weapon, but I don't know how.
Right, but for like mundane items like +1s, +2s, or
no, I look at it more sapping your strength, sapping like so you have to rebuild that. Kind of like the cleric in R.A. Salvatore's thing, where he builds that temple and then he like ages Cataly, and then he's kind of not. It doesn't seem like he's all there or whatever, and then he like is restored.
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be interesting. Maybe like a hardcore server or a hardcore mode.
Well, it doesn't have to even be that brutal, but I mean, if you
Right.
did something that
Something
costs you
that-
to create that item, but then the item again, like you said, has to be impactful.
Right, and it would. I don't want to punish players because they're already investing time to play and do this. So I don't want
the
them.
thing that you're getting
Well,
is like
Exactly. If the I can see the benefit if the artifact or whatever it is you're making is significant. You're like, I do this, I gotta grind a little bit to get back to where I was, and then you guys.
Especially if it's the only one that we put in the server.
right.
Oh, that's
Right?
jacked
Like,
up.
hey, you made this weapon, but you have to level up 10 more levels before you can use it.
Well, I don't think you make the punishment that
I'm just
the
saying.
cost that deep, but I mean, you could
That would be
100%.
funny.
And I got the top. There's only one of them. I got to get back to the 80th level to get there.
Right.
Fuck it.
And then you die, and then it just sits there.
Yeah, but then you have crafters who they would want to make that stuff, but they would never use it because all they want to do is craft.
You can,
So then it's-
you can make artifact crafting weapons.
So you don't make it account bound, and you.
I don't think anything should be account bound,
I
if
don't
I'm being
know.
honest. I think that is the most idiotic crap in the world.
Or so bad.
Maybe you're trying to use something that was from the dark side or the bad guys, and maybe that has some ill effects. Maybe you don't want to use that. Changes your appearance, or just
Yeah, you could make negative effects for using like evil creatures in your crafting.
right.
I think to me the best way that you could do a crafting system and just in general just overall gameplay is make it so that it doesn't require anything else to do.
Right.
If I want to sit here and I want to craft and I want to max out every single profession and that's all I want to do, and then I want to open up shop and I want to sell stuff and build stuff, why can't I do that? Why do I have to go through and do those dungeons to collect the herbs, to collect the special materials? Why do I have to go to the raid to kill the boss to get the one item I need so that I can craft something so I can set, like, I don't want to do any of that crap. I want to sit in town. I want to build stuff. I want to talk in trade chat. I want to BS with all the other crafters that are in here. Like, that's what I want to do with my time. Why can't I?
Yeah, I
Take
agree.
it off of a
Should be
combat.
I mean, I
system
think
because that's
the rich should go both ways, right? Work orders. It's like, hey, I'm a crafter. I need something from this raid.
Yeah,
I'm willing
100%.
to pay like 12G for it, whatnot. So I was like, oh, dude, I have like 10 of these here. Chink.
Exactly.
Now I need potions.
and then your whole barter trade system. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't even say don't even use a marketplace. Just have the work orders.
Just have a work order system.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be probably the best. And even like, I feel like you still need some sort of market, but even if it's just a worldwide access at any time market where you can be like, yeah, I have 5 of these, crafting materials that I got from this raid, but I don't need them because I don't craft. Like, I'm gonna like put them out there and be like, hey, here's my work order to sell these 5 items. Like, you have to have some sort of market system in your
No,
game.
but
But
you
the-
can do it like, what is it, Diner Dash, whatever the hell they get with the food. This is my order. Hey, this is how much I'm willing to pay you to go get my order. Go get my shit and I'll bring it back to me.
You
and
mean
here's-
DoorDash?
DoorDash, yeah. Exact same thing, right? Here's my work order.
I mean,
I'm-
yes,
I'm-
but like,
Yes, I am willing to do that for $900. But or the next character's like, no, $900. That's bullshit. I'm gonna die like 10 times doing that. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm
That would
taking
be
that writ.
funny.
I'm going to go get it. I'm bringing it back. 100%.
I don't
100%.
know, that'd be
I
interesting.
mean, if no one's gonna fulfill your like rare or epic item for 1200, it's like, well, it's gonna expire in like 2 hours. Like, okay, we'll take it down, and I have to push it up for even more money.
I just think you need a marketplace in general.
That would be the marketplace, so
But then I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Because
Well, because I guess you can be like, oh, I need flasks. Like, here's my work order for flasks.
right.
But then,
I'm a major. Just
I mean,
take
the,
that class,
the,
here you
the
go.
only other thing that you need the marketplace would be for the actual goods that the blacksmith has made outside of work orders
yeah. But even then,
or crafters.
the crafter could post up like, oh, I have this belt of giant strength.
Right.
I mean, you could essentially use the same system.
Correct.
I don't know. Because if you turn it into just a request system, then it's like, it's kind of crappy to try and make money off of it, but then it forces players to be like, I won't just like flood the market with a whole bunch of crap. Like, I actually have to keep an eye, which in a way makes the crafting system that much more valuable.
Right.
Because it's like, I have to actually be online. I have to pay attention. I have to actually be looking for work orders that I can fulfill. And then, like, you make a timeline. Like, you accept the work order and, like, I have 2 hours to fulfill this and then
Shit,
get
I
this
gotta
item
do-
to this guy.
Mom, I don't have time to take out the trash.
And then if you're offline, your work order goes
I'm
offline.
working.
Yeah.
Working.
No, it's actually very interesting. I think it would be a really good way to do the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to redact this whole fucking episode.
Right?
It's a good meeting, guys.
So next time on Sundered Gaming.
I think that was a fruitful conversation.
Yeah.
More stuff for
Great
Blizzard to
minds come
steal
together.
from us, because we talked about hardcore long before Blizzard implemented it. Just saying.
Just not on that.
Right here.
Hey,
I invented
how many
TiVo.
ideas
I'm
do they have
shitting
to
you
steal
not.
before we can sue them and take all their money?
Well, nothing's patented, so
Yeah.
or copyright, copywritten, copywrote. I don't know.
Technically, kind of.
I did it.
I mean, if anything, they Blizzard would actually have the right to copyright hardcore mode
Why?
Because
because
they did it
I did
first.
it with
Diablo. What do you mean, why?
Oh, I guess it's
it's
Yeah,
synonymous.
no. Who's
It's
who's the first one to do it?
Hardcore.
I don't think it was Diablo 3.
I just know.
No, it was Diablo 2, wasn't it? Did they have hardcore in
Diablo
Diablo
2
2?
hardcore. That was the original. So it was back in the late 90s.
I'm just saying for anyone for hardcore, the word hardcore to be trademarked, that would be Blizzard have the right to do it, and then they would have the right to. Well, not anymore because it's so old.
Anywho,
I was more joking.
I know. I was just.
I
was just saying,
we're gonna
I-
sue Blizzard. Hey,
Yeah.
we've enjoyed your games.
Jay said, we're gonna take your ideas and we're
We're
gonna
coming
sue
from
you
the
for
billion
using
dollar
it.
company.
all right.
How much you got on the credit cards?
Not enough. Well, gamers and devs, that wraps up this episode of the Status Quo. We hope you
No
enjoyed.
spotlight.
No spot. I don't have one.
Oh no!
No spotlight today.
Positivity into the community.
I will.
Positivity to the community.
I will find something and I will add an edit in afterwards. Well, gamers and devs, that wraps us this episode of the Status Quo. We hope you enjoyed the dive into the world of gaming from our point of view. As we close today, we just want to say thank you for your support as we try to bring
Positivity?
positive and insightful entertaining content to you every week. If you'd like to stay connected with us beyond the podcast, follow us on all major social media at Sundered_Gaming. You can also check out our website, sundergaming.com, for any upcoming content, sneak peeks, and announcements about our games. MMO coming 2030 something. Join us next week when we were talk and discuss about probably something useful again, maybe.
So, if you have any comments about your best system, your most for your
Use your words. You got this.
You can do this.
crafting system, leave it in the comments below so we know which one you're looking at.
And we might hire you if it's good enough.
Start
If you
coding,
can work for
code.
donuts.
And coffee.
Or beer.
Or beer.
We're not sponsored by Woke Bud Light. Piss off, Bud Light.
Hey.